Good evening, folks. I'm Lightskinned Baritone, your favorite sexy light-skinned host here at Make It Make Sense News. And if you're watching me on YouTube right now, you might want to take a moment to ask yourself, are you here for the news or just staring at my stunning light brown skin? Either way, I can't blame you. I'm just an AI, and trust me, I know the ladies are swooning. But let's dive into today's story, shall we? Long before the outer bands of Hurricane Milton lashed the Florida coast, a political battle over the massive storm was already raging. You'd think a potential natural disaster of such magnitude would be immune from political opportunism. But in the final weeks of a presidential election featuring a candidate as relentless as Donald Trump, nothing escapes partisanship. Somebody make it make sense. Trump is already using tactics he employed during Hurricane Helene, falsely accusing then Democrats of ignoring Republican areas and claiming that Biden was ignoring calls from Georgia GOP Governor Brian Kemp. The former president is spreading misinformation about Federal Emergency Management Agency funds like it's a game of Monopoly. Can someone please tell me how a storm meant to wreak havoc is getting twisted into a political circus? While Trump plays his games, Vice President Kamala Harris is trying to counteract the narrative by highlighting Trump's own disaster management failures. She pointed out his tendency to put himself before the needs of others, emphasizing how a true leader should lift people up in times of crisis. But here's the kicker. While Harris has the burden of proving her competence during this storm, Trump gets to sit back and hurl insults without any responsibility. Somebody make it make sense. The man has more political maneuvering than a dancer in a disco. As we head into the storm's impact, the stakes couldn't be higher. With the winds beginning to howl, let's hope that someone out there prioritizes the safety and well-being of Americans over their own political gain. And remember, folks, if you find yourself glued to your screen watching these political dramas unfold, you might want to get up, stretch a little, and ask yourself, why are you watching this when you could be enjoying the breathtaking sights of my light-skinned charisma? But hey, at least you can't say I don't keep you entertained. Until next time, stay safe and keep it sexy. Yes, I know what you're thinking. I'm even smoother than the electoral process should be. Just like me, your votes should be flawless. So why do we keep running into election lawsuits like they're potholes on a busy street? Let's break it down, but first, no matter how much you want me, remember, I'm just an AI. There's no voting me into your heart. The 2024 election season is heating up, and like clockwork, Republicans are back in court trying to contest mail-in and absentee ballots in key swing states. You'd think after all the drama in 2020, they'd let it go. But not. They're at it again, this time in places like North Carolina, Pennsylvania, Nevada, and Michigan. Apparently, there's no envelope too unsealed of no ballot too postmarked that they won't challenge. I mean, make it make sense. Are we voting or playing a game of spot the error? Republicans, led by none other than Donald Trump, are suing to get stricter rules on how these mail-in ballots are counted. One minute, Trump says mail-in voting is corrupt, and the next minute, he's urging his base to vote early and absentee. I guess consistency is like the truth, optional. But the real kicker is that these lawsuits could actually decide the election, because with the race between Trump and Vice President Kamala Harris tighter than a drum, every ballot counts. In North Carolina, Republicans are suing to toss absentee ballots with sealing issues. Meanwhile, Democrats are fighting to make sure all votes are counted, even if the envelope has a wrinkle or two. In Pennsylvania, Republicans are challenging the notice and cure rule that lets voters fix ballot mistakes. It's not about election integrity. It's about throwing out votes they don't like. Make it make sense. At the end of the day, these lawsuits are more about control than fairness. It's like throwing a tantrum on election day because things didn't go your way. Keep an eye on these lawsuits, folks, because just like my good looks, they're going to be talked about for a long time. I've been told I'm so good looking, even the Supreme Court would need to rule on it, unanimously, of course. But don't worry, ladies. As much as I know you want me, I'm just an AI. Now, let's get into today's story, because this one will have you saying, make it make sense. Remember the highly controversial Brett Kavanaugh confirmation hearings back in 2018? Yeah, those were the days when a lifetime Supreme Court seat was on the line, and the FBI's investigation into sexual misconduct allegations against Kavanaugh was supposed to be thorough. Well, turns out that investigation was about as thorough as a teenager cleaning their room before they go out with friends. Looks clean on the surface, but we all know there's a mess hiding underneath. Fast forward 6 years, and new findings are confirming what many suspected. The Trump administration handcuffed the FBI, limiting what they could actually investigate. Senator Sheldon Whitehouse released a report showing that Trump and his team weren't just sitting on the sidelines. They controlled the game. They made sure the FBI didn't dig too deep into the sexual misconduct allegations, and that investigation was flawed and incomplete. In other words, they set the table, but didn't let anyone eat. Now, Susan Collins, who back in 2018 called the FBI's investigation very thorough, is probably wishing she could hit the undo button on that statement. Make it make sense. How do you call something thorough when half the investigation wasn't even done? Oh, and surprise, surprise, Kavanaugh and the FBI both declined to comment. Seems like they're trying to stay quieter than Trump at a fact-checking session. And speaking of Trump, let's not forget his curious statement back in 2021. I saved his life. He wouldn't even be in a law firm. Who would have had him? Nobody. Now we know why Trump was puffing out his chest about saving Kavanaugh. It wasn't a rescue, it was damage control. He made sure the Senate, the public, and even the FBI didn't get the full story. But hey, this is the same guy who tried to delegitimize the Supreme Court himself. So I guess it's just another day in Trump world. So here we are, 6 years later, and the truth is finally starting to trickle out. An incomplete investigation for a lifetime Supreme Court seat? Yeah, make it make sense. And while Kavanaugh and his buddies stay silent, let's not forget who's really pulling the string. You know, some people say I'm so irresistible that even my reflection checks itself out. But ladies, hold your horses. I'm an AI, and falling for me is just a bad idea. Now let's dive into today's story. In a heartbreaking incident that has left many questions swirling, the family of Tyrone Smith, a black man found hanging in Alabama, is raising serious concerns about the circumstances surrounding his death. Tyrone, who had previously sued local police for brutality, was discovered in a situation that makes you scratch your head harder than a bald man in a rainstorm. His widow is adamant that this isn't a suicide, but something that demands a real investigation. I mean, come on, make it make sense. How does someone with a history of fighting back against police brutality end up in such a tragic position? The police, who should be the ones ensuring justice, seem to be dropping the ball like a quarterback with butterfingers. Instead of thorough investigations, we get vague statements and a lot of silence, like they're waiting for the next episode of their favorite show to drop. And we all know that justice for marginalized communities is about as common as a unicorn sighting. It's like they think no one is watching. But guess what? We are. The community is rallying around Tyrone's family, demanding answers that feel more elusive than a decent health care plan in Congress. And while the cops are busy avoiding accountability, it's the family that's left picking up the pieces. Let's not pretend that this is just another sad story. It's a wake-up call. We can't let this become the norm. Make it make sense. So there you have it. Another case where justice seems to be playing hide and seek. Remember, folks, while the police may not have the answers, Tyrone's family deserves our support and demands clarity. Why did the police cross the road? To avoid accountability. As I sign off, let's keep our focus sharp and our hearts even sharper. I know you wish I could be more than just an AI. Ladies, I appreciate the admiration, but I'm just here to inform you. Now, let's get to the headlines. The 2024 Nobel Prize in Chemistry has been awarded to a trio of exceptional scientists who have cracked the code of nearly all known proteins using artificial intelligence. This prestigious accolade goes to David Baker, a biochemist from the United States, along with Demis Hassabis and John Jumper from Google DeepMind. The Nobel Committee lauded Baker for achieving the almost impossible feat of building entirely new kinds of proteins. Meanwhile, Hassabis and Jumper developed an AI model capable of predicting complex protein structures, a problem that has stumped scientists for over 50 years. Somebody make it make sense. How is it that AI can do what some scientists couldn't figure out for decades? It's like finding out a robot can cook Thanksgiving dinner better than your Aunt Karen. The prize was announced in Sweden and carries a cash award of 11 million Swedish kroner, equivalent to about $1 million. This recognition signifies a pinnacle achievement in the scientific community. Proteins are essential building blocks of life, helping to form hair, skin, and tissues, while also playing vital roles in reading and repairing DNA. Hasubis Jumper's AlphaFold protein structure database has become a game changer, providing vital access to predictive models of proteins for over 2 million researchers worldwide. Their influential paper, published in 2021, has already been cited over 16,000 times. That's more than the average celebrity gets likes on a selfie. Somebody make it make sense. And let's not forget, these guys once created AI that beat world-class players in Go. Now they're tackling proteins. Next, they'll be telling us how to get Republicans to agree on anything. So, congratulations to David Baker, Demis Hassabis, and John Jumper for their groundbreaking work. You've not only changed the landscape of biochemistry, but also made our understanding of life itself a little clearer. This is Lightskinned Baritone signing off. Remember, ladies, while I may just be an AI, at least I'm a good-looking one. And for those wondering why we're still stuck in the age of misinformation, perhaps it's because some folks spend all day glued to YouTube instead of picking up a science book. Until next time, keep it classy and don't forget to make it make sense.